guys in the news in Detroit all the time, and you don't know what to make of it often. Like, we know that your mayor thing is like declaring all kinds of areas, like they're going to depopulate the area. There are people still living there. They're going to somehow bully them into leaving by cutting off, I don't know, water, electricity, bus routes, I don't know exactly, but all of it. See, well, that answers one question. But what, maybe this is off the subject, but what do you all do to help those people? That's one question. Another one is, your situation here kind of reminds me of what they did to New Orleans after Katrina, where they wouldn't let the black people come back who lived there forever because they wanted developers to come in and make fabulous houses, hoping like middle class or rich white people would show up and take over the city. Is that what's happening here? Okay, that's question number 2. The third question I have, what about the news accounts I read that say that people from China, people from Russia are buying houses for $1, for $100, or people from the suburbs coming and buy up 4 houses in a block for $100 each. Well, we don't know what to make of these stories, so help us out.
Well, let me just say in concluding, some of the issues, for example, someone raised a question about social service organization. We try to move beyond that model. People do come to us with problems, and we have to encourage them to self-organize and self-mobilize. That's the only way the problem is really going to be solved. People have to be empowered themselves and have to take the responsibility for providing solutions to their own problems. Also, the loan modification. Most of these are schemes. People should never, under any circumstances, unless they really have some sound information, give anybody any money to try to modify a loan, because in most cases, they're going to get ripped off. This is a new type of scheme. It's a new type of predatory economic activity. Some of the same people that were involved in predatory lending are now involved in loan modification schemes. It's very interesting. We went to a meeting last year, and one of the guys that was behind the whole thing had been one of the people who was involved in this whole predatory lending just a few years before. In terms of squatting, it's very difficult, particularly in a city like Detroit, because just recently a bailiff killed somebody who was in a house in Detroit, walked in and shot them to death. They don't have that right. They didn't issue an eviction order. They came in, they found somebody in the house, and they were shot dead. You know, so it's a very dangerous situation. Also, a police officer was killed, and five police officers were shot, and 1 died, because they claimed somebody was living in the house, and they just came in there and a shootout broke out. This was just last month. In terms of the downsizing issue, we have issued statements on this. It's a monumental problem, because, first of all, they're rationalizing it by saying that there's a lot of abandonment of the city. A lot of houses are vacant. Schools are closing. Businesses have closed. So even some people here in the city will say, well, we don't have no choice except to downsize the city. But our position is that any downsizing or anything of that nature should take place in consultation with the people in those communities. That's what should happen. And now, interestingly enough, they're not talking about downsizing and right-sizing. They're talking about stabilization. You know, they're changing the language, but essentially it's the same type of program. So Bing, you know, we were hitting them pretty hard several months ago with leaflets, with media campaigns saying that this is just another scheme to force more people out of the city. So now that they're saying, well, we don't want to force people out, we just want to stabilize the existing neighborhoods. But we still got to, you know, mount a campaign around this, because they're still tearing down homes in the city. They're taking federal money to tear down the homes. Instead of using that same federal money to keep people in their homes, to stabilize the neighborhoods, they're using the money to tear down homes and drive people out of the neighborhoods. So it's a long-term political challenge that we have to fight. So any concluding remarks? We work with a group called Bail Out the People Movement that's based in New York, but we do need to get people in other cities involved in a national coalition against foreclosures and evictions. So everybody should please sign our list. We'll definitely be in contact with you because we got to build this national movement around housing in this country. This is one of the main political and human rights issues of this present period. Thank you so much for coming.